Welcome back to another episode of Who Should You Choose, the video series where I go through the prior videos, questions, and comments and help you with your HUT lineup decisions. Couple things. Number one, I don't know if I talked about this in the last video, but icon passing is now back. So if you've taken a couple days break or you didn't want to play because icon passing was gone, it's now back in the game. Number two, the BND, the daily gift set. So something that I want to do is that every one of these videos, either get comments or whatnot, so that we can make sure everyone knows if the daily gift set is worth doing. So that's the one with the free collectibles you get in the store from the Frozen Forces event. You take those 5 collectibles you get for free, and then you put them into the daily gift set. Now, the daily gift set is worth it when the reward is good. So a couple days ago, it was an 85 overall BND player. For majority of the player base, an 85 overall BND player is not worth it. And the day before that, I believe it was 2 gold jerseys, which is definitely not worth it. So as of right now, until 5 p.m., it looks like it resets every day at 5 p.m. It was an 83 overall team builder. Definitely worth doing, even if you aren't planning on making team builders. Getting one for free is solid because if you ever decide to, you've already got some made there. So just want to reiterate that. Let's get into today's questions. We'll make it a bit bigger here so you guys can see. All right, so we'll start with Jano. He says, hi, first, I would like to thank you for the gameplay breakdown video. Please make more of these as I find them very useful. It would also help us if you will suggest some things we can practice in practice mode, like a scenario you show in actual practice mode to improve certain skills. I would like to ask about the new team builders. Does it make sense to invest resources in them compared to the icons with the free gold ability, as these cards are only slightly better, mainly endurance, than the actual MSPs, but cost way more? I will do a full breakdown on the new team builders, the 89 overall, in terms of the rankings for them and everything like that. I do want to play with a couple to kind of, give you guys some better judgment on them. That being said, the 89s are pretty underwhelming. I think when you think back to NHL 24, the second release of team builders that had the Madonna, famously, that had like 95 speed, they were all very good. The issue, I think, with team builders is that they waited too long in the cycle to give out the 89s, because the 88s and, the from the Frozen Forces event, a lot of them are basically better or just as good. And some of these 89 overall team builders aren't even better than the 86s. The best example would be Shane Doan and Gartner. Those are the right-handed wingers. Gartner is arguably better. So, yeah, a lot of them, they're good, but not great. I think that's the best way to describe them. The other issue is that they don't have a free zone ability. So when you're comparing them to power or holograms, you cannot discredit the free zone ability. Because we do not get a lot of AP points, any cards that have the free zone ability is just a crazy advantage for you. So if you haven't started making team builders, it's awfully tough to get hyped to do it now. And in all honesty, what I would do is if you have no interest in them, sell all of your NHL 77 and above players. Go and take a look at so if you pull a 77 overall Nashville Predator, don't sell it for what the base price of 77s are going for. Go and take a look and see if Nashville Predators are going for a little bit more, and then put that card up. It does take a little bit more effort, but you can maximize your coins that way. I have enough to make one. I'm not super interested in making another 89. I might, as the season goes along, when we get some more free team builders, like 83 overalls. That's basically what I did with these, is that I just waited until I got enough free ones, and I just built them that way. Or like the packs, for example, where they were at such a discount. Hey, Slaves, just curious to when you think they're going to drop the new abilities. I peeked at the market when the game dropped and have been trying to get a hold of you to announce the leak, but when you use to search the market under zone abilities, it would have all the new leaked abilities. Don't you think it would be a good time for them to drop something positive for the game before many people leave? I didn't realize there were other zone abilities. I didn't even realize that when I was beta testing the game in the summertime. Interesting. If anyone else knows all of the leaked abilities, I'm not sure. I haven't seen them. I didn't know that was a thing. So cool. Now would be, sorry, to answer your question, now, like immediately would be cool to get new abilities. Hey, Sleeves. So I'm sitting here debating what to chase. I was doing the math on icons versus team builders. I feel like a lot of today's video is going to be around team builders. You can get both 77 and 76 overall cards for about $37.50 by now. At that rate, it costs just over 1 million coins to make a holo, whereas the team builders are only 720,000 for the new 89 overall cards. To make an 86, it would cost about 360,000. It seems like making team builders the focus is far and away the smarter option. Thanks for the time and love the vids. Normally, like over the last couple years, team builders have been the play simply because when they release, they're always the best cards in the game. And I would argue that none of the cards released are the best at their position. Again, they're good, but not great. I think that team builders, because of the cost involved, should get, and because they're chase cards, should get free zone abilities. That would increase their value. The other issue is that holograms will allow you to upgrade them as they get new cards. Now, it's been shown that EA has no interest in doing that evenly, and you might go 4 months without your hologram upgrading. But also consider that the next event, I believe, is the Gallery of Greats event, which looks like it's going to be icon focused. So we could see a lot of upgrades to icons. I like holograms because they have in this argument, because if you were to make 189 right now, like I'm going to, you have to make a second one so that when the 92s come out, you'll be able to make one, right? Just having 189 is tough, so I'm going to slowly do it. But as you get higher and higher into the 90s, they become way more expensive, right? Obviously, because you're doubling the cost every time. So I think the holograms are probably the play, but it's mostly because the 89s were kind of underwhelming. Today's gift is an 83 team builder. Guys, whenever you see a comment like this and you know it's right, make sure you highlight and give it a like. That way it gets sorted at the top and people can really see what their daily gift set collection is. Line of questions. Sleeves, I love the content. Keep it up, man. How important do you feel synergies are within a lineup? How do you focus on them? How important are they? And do they matter? So early on, they're not important. Because they don't have a drastic impact. The only one I think that does is maybe sniper forward and two-way forward, because two-way forward gives a boost to faceoffs. But I wouldn't outside of the fourth line, I wouldn't hamstring my lineup by putting an inferior card in just to get a synergy activated, unless it's a player on the fourth line. Then go ahead. That said, the boost synergies are pretty crazy. So like the agility boost, speed boost, pinpoint shooting boost, because it looks like you get like +3 or +4. I think in the face-off one, you get +4 to face-offs. That's a substantial increase, but the boost synergies don't come into play until you get cards that are like 87 or 88 and above. Very hard to do if you haven't spent money in the game. But as we get a little bit further in, they are going to matter a little bit. The boost synergies are interesting because if there was two cards, let's say, that you were chasing after, an MSP, okay, and you didn't care about the players in real life, and they, line up context, they could both be useful for you. Maybe that breaks the tie if the boost synergy helps you get closer to activating it. But other than that, man, I really don't put a major focus in, because think about this. Like, will a shot that's 93 overall as opposed to 90 overall go in a ton more? Probably not. Lineup question. He says, I'm closing in on getting Hedman, but my defense is Fantasy Keller, Sider, Jabo, Montour, Ekholm, Faber. Where should I put him? I would love to have both fantasy cards in my lineup, but Jabo is by far the best D-man I have. There is an option to play two lefties and use Faber or Sider towards other frozen MSPs, but I don't know, or should I replace Ekholm for now and get him back in instead of Jabo later when Ekholm scores some more? Also, if I keep Ekholm and replace Jabo Faber, I have the accuracy shooting synergy activated. Don't know what to do. In this case, man, like Ekholm has like 84, 85 speed. That's tough, man. You've got a stack decor. Like, that's actually fantastic. I would bench Ekholm until he scores a couple, until his skating isn't a liability. Sleeves, quick rant here. In reference to the guy you got into an argument with about icon passing, I wanted to weigh in on that. I think if people think it's a skill gap issue or think it's easy, then they should just use the mechanic easy fix. I'm sorry, I like to know for sure where my passes are going and don't like just passing the puck and basically saying, Jesus, take the wheel. Glad your procedure went well. Keep the good work. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Everything went great. That being said, when it comes to icon passing, yeah, I mentioned this. A lot of people were up in arms about the icon passing being a skill gap, and it's making quote unquote the shitters better, bailing them out. Like I said, man, you get into Division 2, and if you only rely on icon passing, you are going to get absolutely slammed. So it's not a real big skill gap thing. Like I said, being able to do the backhand L2 speed glitch down the boards, which is awkward, that is a skill gap thing, which sucks, and I don't do it because it doesn't look like real hockey, and it's dumb. But if you want to go from Div 2 to Div 1, those are the little things you got to do, which is a whole other rant, and I talk about it all the time. But the icon passing is just a mechanic to make a difficult video game. This is the easiest way to describe it. If you were to tell someone, okay, you've got to pick up MLB and you got to pick up NHL, and you have to become a competent player. So this would be division, or not even a division. You just have to be able to play against the CPU and know what you're doing and be able to do a majority or most of the things. MLB, you literally just have to hit one button. And Madden, yes, you have to learn and it's knowledge based, but like for the most part, if you just want to play the game, you hit X to snap, hike the ball, and then you hit the icon to wherever the pass to, right? In NHL, man, it is so convoluted and confusing to someone who has never played the video game before. It is almost like the real sport in which the barrier of entry is so hard that it shoves new players away, even if they're interested in the game, because it's a very difficult mechanic and game to pick up, even with total controls. Like, think about just stick handling alone, right? Like, and then also being able to skate and looking at passing and all of that. Icon passing helps out if you're only relying on the lower section of the player base that needs assistance, at least knowing where the puck is going to go. There's only two instances in which icon passing really benefits a top-end player. That is one on the breakout, and half the time that's just to see where your players are. And two, that's when you're trying to get a pass back to the point because for whatever reason, NHL 25, there's no pass assist in the offensive zone. And even when you aim right at that defenseman you want, it will fire right out down the ice because there's like zero pass assist at all. I'm so glad you said that McDavid feels too fast at times. That was my first impression of him. Like, damn, I think he is too fast. It's so funny to me. When you get a card that has exceptional speed and combine it with really good agility and maybe edges, right, for example, and it's so much faster than the rest of your cards as well as your opponents, you notice it on breakaways where it's like he's going in too fast and you can't do your normal backhand forehand or whatever move because he's going too fast. McDavid usually feels like that at launch of the game, and his supercharged card, it's like, or his Frozen Forces card is enough of ahead of the rest of the card base where it's going to be like that. You got to get like used to it. It's crazy. Hey, Sleeves, question on wildcard this week. For the life of me, I can't get my first line forward or D to play in the games. No matter what I do, change team strategy to those lines, start, edit lines, save them, nothing works. I'm stuck playing with a third line forward and second pair D that were pre-selected and unlocked. Pretty frustrating and constantly go up against 89 Christmas, Connor, and other high-ranked cards. Any idea how to change that? Appreciate your time. I'm not sure. So the reason why I think you're having an issue here is that there's no line changes in wildcard this week, and you're supposed to be using the Connor like MSP, which is okay. I think it completely takes away the whole draft aspect by only being able to use one line, even though you can use the players you want. But like, again, wild card is just so mismanaged. I can't stand it. It's like you asked for a draft mode, and yeah, you gave us a draft mode, but like not what we wanted. You know what I mean? Like you're like, anyways. Go and take a like. I don't know if you can edit strategies for wild card. Again, I don't really pay attention to it, but I think if you change your starting lineup, and this could be in your own settings, and maybe it's just carrying over to wild card, and it'll say what line you start with. Make sure it's first line forward, first line defense, and maybe that'll fix it. I'm not sure. Wild card is, it's not all flushed out, that's for sure. Hey, Sleeves, got a lineup question here. I'm feeling a bit low on center. You've got Barkov, he's your star of the month. Cover athlete Matthews and Koivu team builder. My left wing, though, is also low. Kucherov's X Factor, Barbashev, Hughes, and Celebrini. Should I go and make a couple more of the Frozen Forces players to get McDavid, or should I hold off to make his hologram? I'm 3 away from my second captain, and I'm really liking Sider and Otter right now, and I don't want to trade them in. Keep the good work, brother, and hope to get my question answered since I can't be live on Twitch due to shift work. No problem, buddy. This is tough, man. So my blanket statement was if you already have two captains, I wouldn't make Connor McDavid's. You know what, man? I'm gonna revise that. Okay. If you do your chores and you get 2 MSPs for free, here is what I would do. I would make whatever. First of all, I'd wait till week 2. Don't do it now. Wait till week 2 because you have a full month or 4 weeks to make all the MSPs, right? So never rush out and make one. Wait, unless you're hot rich or you really want a player, like favorite team kind of thing. And I would make 2, and then I would see how close you'll get close to the end of the event. Your lineup, you definitely need some centermen, right? You do. So honestly, making Connor would be okay because 2 captains takes a long time if you're free to play. As someone who has been grinding the beginning of the game, now I put a lot into the fantasy event. I obviously had to put a lot into the next gen event. So I've had events that have sucked all the fodder out of my collection, and it's really slowed me down. But now I'm about 6 base captains away from McDavid. If you have 3 captains, I would not make McDavid. But if you have 2, it's probably going to take you long enough where the 89 McDavid is going to be useful. The 89 McDavid, guys, is the best card in the game that you can acquire that is not a chase card. Blanket. End of statement. Like, that is... So you have to... Obviously, it's going to be a waste for you if you make the Supercharged McDavid. But you're probably going to get enough usefulness out of it to justify it, right? He's so far and away better than the other options that, like, I think it's okay. Lineup question. I already made Morgan Riley. Should I make Bedard to make McDavid or just keep the 2? I've heard a lot about we might get to a comment. I've heard a lot of bad things about Bedard this year, that he's very sluggish. And that's tough because he's so small. His shot is fantastic, but I think that there's enough other options. His team is Eichel, Crosby, Kucherov, Monahan, Zip. You need a centerman. Who do you have on defense? Oh, you need a right-handed defenseman. I would not make Bedard. I would wait for week 2 and see what comes. And maybe try and make... I would keep... Riley as a good option for you. But you're going to get... Actually, if you're going to get Hedman... If you're going to get Hedman... Yes. Then I'm good with that. If you're going to get Hedman. What many folks don't realize is the old generation console players were mashed into the next gen console population of players since EA didn't release NHL 25 on old gen. There's a bunch of Div 1, 2, and 3 players from old gen that came to next gen this year. If you were Div 3 last year, you're likely Div 4 this year. Just accept it, relax, enjoy one division worse from now on. This isn't a terrible take. And I think I personally know a lot of players that played Division 1 on old gen because they were simply scared and like the inferior competition. I apologize if I'm insulting you, but there was a lot of players that I knew that could play new gen last year, but they hit on old gen because they just like beating up on inferior opponents. That being said, all those guys were forced to come to Division 1. So that's absolutely right. At the high end, there are more Division 1 players than there were last year because those players are obviously obsessed with the game, very good at it. Where you lost a lot of the population from the old division, from the old games, like from the old gen games, was on the lower divisions, right? Where gaming isn't super important. They just casually played, right? Things like that. But yeah, there is a reason why you might be struggling a little bit more. 100% in Rivals. That's a very good point. That especially if you're in Division 1 or 2, and even 3, you're going to have a lot more players that were in the player pool now that are difficult to go up against. So I agree with that. Updated strategy video coming soon. Man, I got to be honest with you. I spent probably, honest to God, 30, 40 hours on my strategies video. It is the strategies video I'm most proud of. I still use it to this day. I know a lot of people change strategies and things like that. I stand by that. If you use my strategies, you will get to Division 2. And the reason why I'm confident of that is because it's what I do. I'm very transparent, right? So it might take you a little while to learn all the things that I try and teach in that video, but I thought I gave enough. If you follow it, you will get to Division 2. To get to Division 1, you're going to have to do some other things that a lot of them I don't want to teach on my channel because they're what most people would consider glitch goals, and it's more playstyle philosophy. Like, for example, if you really want to go from Division 2 to Division 1, you've got an offensive zone puck rag, and you've got to circle along the half boards a million times and be very patient and wait for the point to open up. And again, that's not interesting to a majority of the player base, so I don't, I just accept where I am and I play the way I want to play, and I'm just like, if I lose, I lose. Hey, Sleeves, are power-up icons really worth it this year? I would like to build Niedermeyer for my team since I'm a Devils fan, but I really doubt he's worth the price. First of all, brother, make Niedermeyer because you're a Devils fan. Second of all, are they worth it? I don't know how to quantify the free zone ability. Like, maybe you guys could reply in the comment section because I don't know if I'm way off base on this. But a free zone ability is worth 2 overall to me in my mind. Like, If Niedermayer's an 86, but he's got free elite edges, I think it's edges, or maybe it's shut down. I know he has a good one. I'm almost positive he has a good one. That's worth like an 88 to me. And he has a chance to get upgraded. At some point, EA will be like, oh, yeah, we should probably upgrade Niedermayer. And yes, you do have to pay for that. But guys, it only costs like an 80 overall to make a 1-for-1 to make a token. And because they do it so slowly, I don't think there'll ever be a rush of 80 overalls increasing in price. Like you could buy, I know someone in my Discord, Bagel Pizza Party, if you don't know who that is, he's like one of the best market players in all of Hockey Ultimate Team. He bought enough 80 overalls already at the cheapest price to buy all of his X Factor tokens for McDavid. So even if they go up in price, he's covered. And I thought that was a really smart idea. Don't make the tokens now. Wait for them until you need them. But have enough 80 overall so that you can do it in the future. I'm also strongly debating being done with Chara, but as a diehard Bruins guy, every time I smoke a one-time with him, it feels extra sweet. Brings me back to 2011. But he's so painfully slow, and I've been struggling to connect on hits as well. Dude, I've never seen a drop-off in a card quite like Chara. Like, the way this game plays, it's not the way this game plays in terms of hitting. The hitting is so not clean. Like, it's you charge up for this hit, and then the animation isn't fluid when you hit. The amount of time I get 0 hits a game. I simply cannot grasp actually my guys to actually hit. And I understand. I use like the charge up, so I don't use B or circle to hit. Maybe that's my issue. I use the skill stick version of hitting, right? And I understand how to do it. It's almost like you have to do it far earlier than you anticipate to actually get the connection. But it's just, I don't know. I don't know what it is. And I understand, like, Chara's skating, in the higher divisions where you know how to defend a rush with a slower player, I think it's fine still. But for a lot of the lower end players where the way that you defend is basically just follow a player down the boards, you're going to struggle quickly with him. So, I understand it moving on from Chara. I still think he's good enough, but not super elite. But you've gotten 2 months out of him, essentially. So, great content. A longtime fan. Who would you choose for a modern icon player? I did this on stream today. The go-to answer is Sundin. However, I think it's Niedermayer. I do. I think it might be Niedermayer. There are a lot of centermen that have 90 faceoffs. Niedermayer is a great centerman, but his skating is so low that he's going to need a lot of upgrades to kind of keep up. And centermen don't need speed. Honestly, of all the positions in the game, center is the least necessary to have a high speed rating because the majority of the time, the way you break the puck out is with your wingers, right? But that being said, I think Niedermayer gives you a bigger advantage. It's tough. Safe would still be Sundin because no matter what, you could have him on your third or fourth line. Like, even if you have players that surpass him, you could still have him out there. He gets the free zone ability, so having gold quick draw, you never have to worry about it, which is a massive bonus. Oh, that makes it tough. I didn't even think of that. The free gold quick draw. God, having a guy on your fourth line with free gold quick draw. That's probably worth it because you could always find a MSP defenseman or whatever to replace Niedermayer. God, I think it's still Sundin. I might have talked myself into it, so. That's going to do it for this episode of Who Should You Choose, guys. Let me know what you think in the comments section down below. Stay tuned for my team ranking or my team builder rankings video. If you want, don't make any yet. There isn't a spoiler alert. There isn't a one. Go get this right now one. So I'll go through all of your team context in my rankings video. So if you've got stacked forwards, not enough defense, all of that. So that being said, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next time. Have a good one.